Hi everyone, it's Nick with Build Up Advisory Group, and it's Fast Forward Fridays, a web series where we will quickly build what you know about infrastructure design in the nonprofit sector. Today's Fast Forward topic is pursuing a continuously improving infrastructure instead of a perfect infrastructure. I think I'm about to shock you, but I wanted to let you know that there is no such thing as a quote perfect infrastructure. Does that fact surprise you? It might, as it did an executive director I was having a conversation with recently. They were discussing the growth they had made, the changes they had implemented, and how they felt as though they still weren't, quote, perfect. And in fact, they had struggled well through their organizational values in defining risk, increased their staff retention, strengthened their governance structure, and incorporated grantee feedback thoughtfully into their work. They're doing an amazing job, and I just couldn't understand why they were still seeking something called perfection. That conversation and others made me realize that there's a shared thought within the sector that you can actually create a perfect infrastructure or organization, and that's not the case. I've been designing and building infrastructure for years. I've built organizations all over the world. They've been branches, affiliates, independent entities, spin offs, spin ins, and what I've learned is that you should be working towards a continuously improving infrastructure that takes into account your work, operations, mission, and your current environment as it evolves. But you shouldn't be working towards a perfect infrastructure because it doesn't exist. I want to highlight two reasons why pursuing a continuously improving infrastructure is the goal, is what we pursue at Build Up, and why pursuing a perfect infrastructure is actually settling. The first reason is that we live in a dynamic environment. It's not static, which means that we live in a world that's constantly evolving and changing. When we build our infrastructure as if we stopped at a certain point and said, now that's perfection, then we would be doing a disservice to the changing external environment in which we operate. We wouldn't be able to deliver services to the communities that need us as efficiently as we might if we were continuously trying to improve our infrastructure instead of thinking that it could ever be perfect. When you build towards perfection, it sets you up to work up until a point and it doesn't give you the ability to see beyond that point. So you're actually building in a static environment to address the needs in a dynamic world. In order to build an organization that can support transformation, you must have a transformative infrastructure. Transformative infrastructure isn't built to a point and then stop, because infrastructure that is built to transform lives and communities takes into account the fact that environments change constantly and are easily adaptable. The second reason, and it builds on the first, is that when you build an infrastructure with the thinking that it will continuously improve, you have a very different mindset towards the work that you're doing. You start your building from a place of flexibility. It allows you to not only be responsive, but to be innovative and proactive. This pursuit of continuous improvement is what makes an infrastructure strong, and that's what makes an organization sustainable. When I look at infrastructure that has been built, I can tell when people have built with a continuous improvement mindset and when it has been built in a static environment or perfection. And I don't just find this proof in the organization's infrastructure. No, I see it in the way the organization works because, as I've mentioned in many Fast Forward Fridays, infrastructure is intrinsically linked to programmatic outcomes. Trust me, you aren't flexible in your programmatic work and then inflexible in your infrastructure. And you're not forward looking in your programmatic work and completely limited in your infrastructure. Those things go hand in hand. So when you think that you can ignore your infrastructure and focus instead on the work, or you want to do some innovative initiative, if your infrastructure isn't right there alongside you being improved to support these things, you're not taking the risk that you think you are. You're not being as creative as you think you are. And you're certainly not being as innovative as you think you are. So the key here is to constantly be focused on how can we ensure that our infrastructure is supportive of the work that we're doing, that we're building an infrastructure in a thoughtful way, and that we're not settling for perfection. It can take a while to get to this mindset, and I can appreciate why it can seem daunting, as though it never ends. But this is the work that it takes to be transformative. When you were thinking about the amazing work that you can do, the problem solving that you can be a part of, you have to think about ways in which your infrastructure can support that work and that problem solving. When we aim to continuously improve our infrastructure alongside our work, that's when we can become transformative. And that's our fast build. I want to hear how you are thinking about pursuing a continuously improving infrastructure. I would love to hear from you and about your experience in the comments below. And if you're finding these Fastball Fridays helpful or informative, I would love it if you would like this video and hit subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful weekend and keep building bravely.